Picture this. You're in your home when suddenly an intruder barges in. What do? Would having a gun change the outcome? Today, we're diving into a topic that stokes strong emotions on both sides of the debate. The question of whether or not to have a gun in the home. We'll take a balanced look at the compelling arguments from both perspectives, laying out the pros and cons without bias. In this video, we'll explore the arguments for and against home gun ownership. Protection, liberty, deterrence. These are the pillars of the argument for home gun ownership. Let's start with protection. It's a natural instinct to want to safeguard our homes, the sanctuary where we retreat to from the world's chaos. Firearms offer a level of security, empowering homeowners with the means to defend themselves and their families in dire situations. A study from the National Crime Victimization Survey showed that victims who defended themselves with a gun were less likely to be injured than those who used other forms of self-defense. Next comes liberty. The right to bear arms is a fundamental cornerstone of American identity, deeply woven into the nation's history and culture. This freedom, as outlined in the Second Amendment, symbolizes the power and autonomy of the individual against potential governmental tyranny. It's about more than just owning a gun, it's about preserving a way of life. Finally, we turn to deterrence. The presence of a firearm can act as a powerful deterrent against potential criminals. According to a survey conducted by the University of Chicago, over 40% of convicted felons reported that they had at some point decided not to commit a crime due to the fear that the potential victim was armed. This statistic reinforces the concept that firearms can indeed deter criminal activities and contribute to the overall safety of a household. While these arguments paint a compelling picture for home gun ownership, it's important to remember that with great power comes great responsibility. Owning a firearm requires serious commitment to safety and proper training to ensure that it serves its intended purpose without posing unnecessary risks. So there's a case to be made for having a gun at home. But what about the downsides? Accidents, misuse, increased violence. These are the concerns that fuel the argument against home gun ownership. When we consider the potential hazards of having a firearm in the home, one of the first things that comes to mind is accidental shootings. Every year, a significant number of individuals are unintentionally injured or killed by firearms. These incidents often involve children or teenagers who stumble upon a gun that was not properly secured. While gun safes and locks can mitigate this risk, they are not foolproof, and the danger still exists. Beyond accidents, there's the risk of guns falling into the wrong hands. In the United States, a significant number of guns used in crimes are stolen from homes. When a firearm is kept at home, there's always the chance that it could be taken during a burglary and later used in a crime, or worse, against the homeowner. It's a chilling thought, but one that's all too real for many. Then, there's the potential for escalating violence. Studies have shown that in households with guns, the likelihood of homicide is 3 times higher, and the likelihood of suicide is 5 times higher than in households without guns. This is often attributed to the ease with which disagreements or conflicts can escalate when a gun is readily accessible. Moreover, research shows that having a gun in the home does not necessarily make you safer. In fact, a study published in the American Journal of Epidemiology found that people with guns in their homes were at greater risk of dying from a gunshot wound, whether self-inflicted or not, than those without guns in their homes. Of course, these are just general trends and statistics. Every situation is unique, and there are certainly cases where home gun ownership has saved lives. However, it's important to remember that owning a gun is a serious responsibility that comes with potential risks. It's clear that home gun ownership isn't without its risks, but how do you weigh these against the potential benefits? Like many issues, the question of home gun ownership isn't black and white. There's a middle ground to consider. Let's begin by contemplating stricter gun laws. While some people might bristle at the idea of more regulations, it's essential to remember that laws are there to protect us. They aren't necessarily about taking away rights, but about ensuring responsible and safe practices. Stricter gun laws could mean a more thorough vetting process for potential gun owners, including comprehensive background checks that screen for criminal history and mental health issues. This could help prevent firearms from falling into the wrong hands. Next, consider the role of education and training. Just as we wouldn't let someone drive a car without proper instruction, the same should apply to gun ownership. Comprehensive education about firearm safety, storage, and usage can be the key to reducing accidental discharges and other preventable incidents. Training could also involve teaching gun owners about conflict resolution and de-escalation techniques, further promoting safety and responsible gun use. Lastly, let's talk about the potential for advanced safety features on firearms. Technology has come a long way, and it's about time we put it to good use in this context. Smart guns, for instance, are firearms that only function in the hands of their designated owners. They use biometric data like fingerprints or other unique identifiers to ensure they can't be used by anyone else. This could drastically reduce the risk of accidental shootings or misuse of firearms. Let's frame it this way. We're not discussing taking away anyone's rights to protect their homes and loved ones. Instead, we're discussing how we can all work together to create a safer environment for everyone, gun owners included. It's about fostering a culture of responsible gun ownership that respects both the right to bear arms and the need for safety and security. Finding a balance might be the key to addressing the concerns on both sides of the debate. So, should you have a gun in your home? The answer isn't as straightforward as you might think. Throughout our exploration, we've touched on the two sides of the coin, each with compelling arguments. On one hand, we have the case for home gun ownership, emphasizing the right to self-defense, protection of family and property, and the constitutional right to bear arms. On the other hand, we have the case against home gun ownership. This perspective highlighted the potential risks involved, such as accidents, misuse, and the potential for escalation instead of de-escalation during a conflict. Then we also considered the middle ground, the idea of responsible gun ownership. This viewpoint proposes that with the right training, mental health checks, and legal regulations, it's possible to balance both safety and the right to self-defense. But as you can see, this issue is complex and multifaceted. It's not a question with a one-size-fits-all answer, but one that requires individual consideration and societal dialogue. So we encourage you to keep this conversation going. Discuss it with your friends, your family, your community. Do it respectfully and with an open mind. Listen to different perspectives and share your own thoughts. Remember, it's not about winning an argument, but about understanding each other better and finding common ground. Whether you're for or against home gun ownership, the most important thing is to keep the dialogue going. After all, it's through conversation that we find understanding and, hopefully, solutions.